So I want to really quickly, before we get started, introduce Peter Frisa so you can see his beautiful face here on the screen. And essentially what he's going to talk about today is tips for writing great Google Ads and give you some really good information about the Google AdWords platform. And like I said at the end, I'll just give you a little overview of the presentations as well. But we're going to let him drive today and take over and really dig into Google AdWords campaigns. Please feel free to chat in any questions that you have in the chat box, or if you're on Facebook, you can chat them in on Facebook, and I'm glad to let Peter know when there's questions coming up. So
cool.
Take it away.
Well, thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Sarah. I'm really excited to be here. All right, so I'm just going to dive right in. So here we have an AdWords account, but before I get to that, I'd like to start with our website and our landing page. So for today's purposes of demoing something with this webinar, I'm going to use this website and a demo account. So this company right here is called Holistic Holiday at Sea. And basically it's a website that's geared towards booking healthy vegan cuisine that's on a cruise ship in the Caribbean. So already you should start thinking about what we're talking about, what the keywords are, what our audience is, focused on. So I'm starting with the website because a lot of times clients will say things like, oh, should I just start advertising right away? And I always let everyone know that you really want your website and your landing pages to be complete before you start even, paying for something like AdWords. So another thing I always tell people is that if you start thinking of your website like a newspaper, it starts to make a lot more sense. And what I mean by that is websites are a lot like newspapers because of the sections. So on this homepage of this website, I have my home link here. Under Holistic Cruises, every time I click into something, it drills down into something with more detail. And that's going to be very important later on as I show you some tips and tricks for writing better ads. So let's start with just this homepage here and start combing it for keywords. Now, I know you must have talked about in the past like the keyword planner and how to do keyword research, the keyword multiplier. These are all great things, and you should definitely be doing this before you're even beginning to advertise anything. So what I usually recommend is just start by making a list and going into your landing page. We're going to use this one. I always say like the H1s, like the titles are really good giveaways for like potential candidates for keywords and search terms. Let me click fill out the person. I like details. I think that this date is pretty important. And again, going back to what I was saying before, the word Caribbean, cruise, vegan, healthy cuisine, things like that should already be popping into your brain. And as I go through this landing page, you're going to see some words as I kind of mine or dig or comb through them that are going to be relevant to what we're going to be using later on. So that, again, you should be putting this into a list. Another good tip is I recommend Excel, and sometimes what I also do is make two columns. I'll make an adjectives and a nouns column so I can get different combinations. And I also encourage you to look at some of these words in Google search and see what competitors are coming up too. So after you make your list of words, you would go into AdWords. Now I'm going to pretend like we're starting from the beginning, so this makes a lot of sense because I know some of you might have not done this yet. So here I am in AdWords with my account. To make a new campaign, you would click here. We're just interested in a search only. Don't worry about display select. I think when you're just starting off, just work with a search network only. So I click on that. And I would say this is just a general campaign because it's going to the home page. I like to have all features because that I just feel like I get more out of it, when I do that versus standard where it makes it really basic and easy to follow. You might want to leave the search partners clicked. It's just some extra websites that can host these text ads. You pick your location. For me, I'm just interested in the United States. You could always pick more advanced locations too. English is our language. I'm going to keep things manual, but there are ways to use other automated bidding systems. But for beginners, maybe you just want to use manual. You have to put a price in here, so I'm going to put like $1 bids. I'll get into that later. Let's say my budget is $10 a day. Again, you would know your budget because you think of it as a month, and then you take that number of how much you want to spend per month and divide it by the amount of days in the month that you're advertising for, or Google just recommends 30.4. Don't worry about taking notes because I have all the stuff explained later. I'm just going to say that again so you don't feel like, I'm going pretty fast here. I'll leave this schedule open. It's every day, all hours of the day. And I wouldn't worry too much about this stuff right now. They're set for default settings that are good, that are optimized for you. So you go to save and continue. So now that I'm already starting my campaign, they're saying, well, give us, the name of the ad group. Let me just go back. Seems like it's just safe. Give it a second. Okay, so we goes to our ad group, and I'm going to call it just my general branding campaign. Now, this is really important. URLs are really, really important for, ad creation. This is my URL that I'm using. It's going to the home page, so therefore, that's where people are going to be sent to. Going back to your keyword list, you're going to take the words that you used, that you already combed and did all your keyword research that you scraped for, and you would put them here, in your headlines and the body. So you get 30 characters, and 80 here. To speed things up a bit, then you would put your keywords here. Now, this is something you got to be conscious of. Like, Google's going to make suggestions for words. Sometimes they're good. Sometimes they're not really relevant. You want to have really highly relevant words inside this bank right here. And that's going to also correlate to the words that are in your ads. All right, so I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to cancel this because I actually went ahead and I already made a little campaign here to kind of give you an idea. So here's my campaign. I have 2 ads ready to go. And if you look here, the ads themselves have, like I said before, the holistic holiday at sea cruise. You see the connection here with the H1 title here, and I also have this is like an incentive for like a call to action for sign up for the early bird rates. I have my dates here. I'm putting a lot of things in this ad that make it really relevant to what I'm advertising. All right, so think of it like another analogy that I wanted to make was, like, let's say, you have a landing page that's not related. Like, let's say I jump to one of these other, campaigns, like People. So here we have one, Bill Clinton. So the Bill Clinton diet, learn about the diet that helped Clinton lose 25 pounds and get healthy. So when I click on it, it goes to a different URL, a different landing page about the Bill Clinton vegan diet. And this is related, content to this company's business, and page. So what I was saying before is, like, if I had this campaign here and I used this as my landing page, that's not a good idea, because what I'm trying to tell you guys is that specificity is your friend with AdWords. So where I'm going with this is that I call it like the trifecta, and this has to do with quality score and the other strategies that I'm going to be talking about. If we go to our keyword section, like, it's not going to show me this now. It used to be that if you hovered your mouse over here, it's because this isn't a real, this isn't showing right now. You would see like these little indicators here, a below average, average, and above average for your expected click-through rate, your landing page quality, and your keyword quality. And these affect your quality scores. So this is something I totally encourage you to do when at home at your own time. And this is what you got to do to see your quality score. You go to your columns, you go to modify columns, you scroll down, there's a link here for quality score. Now, quality scores, I'm talking about new features right now. This is nothing new. They've had this for a while. But what's cool is AdWords recently now gives you columns for your ad relevance, your landing page, your expected click-through rate, and the history. I'm going to enable all these right now and scroll down and apply it. Okay. So right now, again, it's not a live campaign, so that's why we're not seeing anything here per se. But if we look at it like this, like let's filter by the highest quality score. Like I said, if you got the higher the number, 10 for 10, the less you're going to pay for clicks. It helps you with your ad rank. So, okay, so let's look at this one. Clinton Diet. We're bidding 20 cents, and it shows with our history, it's got a pretty good click-through rate. You want to be above 2%. That's like an industry benchmark. 10 for 10 on the quality score. If you look over here, is I able to move that up a little bit, or just if I just?
Oh yeah, actually, just make sure you grab the black part, and you can pick that whole white area.
Something was blocked. Okay,
yeah,
perfect. So I go to my ad relevance, my landing page, and my expected click-through rate, all above average. And it makes sense. So I'm getting a 10 for 10 over here. To get a 10 on your quality score is actually pretty difficult. So don't feel bad if like you're not getting that right away. It takes time. But what I want to show you is, like, kind of going back to that trifecta, let's look at some lower quality score words where when you see these dashes, it just means there's not enough information. Okay, so here's one that's a 5 for 10, the Clinton plan. So again, below average, above average, below average. The reason why I'm showing you this is that if you were like wondering, what can I do to improve this quality score? Well, it's telling you right here, your ad relevance is below average. Your expected click-through rate is below average. So for starters, like this word would now need to be included in the ad copy. And also, I would say, you need to have it run a little bit longer because your click-through rate needs to increase for that expected click-through rate, to be higher. And like I said, this is a new feature that originally they didn't have in AdWords, but now they're showing it to you in columns, which is a really great way to see where you can do better in your account.
Awesome. And let me just check in with everybody right now. Jenna, I see that you're saying maybe you've lost audio. So I want to just double check and see if anyone else is having that issue. If you could go ahead and chat in and let us know. All right, great. All right, awesome. So it seems like we're good to go. If you're losing audio, I apologize. Please go ahead and dial in. Or, if you're on your computer, you can turn it off and turn it back on, and that might reset. All right, great. Thank you, guys. I just want to make sure we didn't miss anything important that Peter was telling us. And right now, just so you know, we're at about 20 minutes. So We've still got plenty of time. And we can open up for questions if you want at any point in the game. So.
I mean, I think I hit upon a lot of the points I wanted to make. I'm definitely game for some questions. If you all got something, please ask.
All right, great. So I want to go ahead and just encourage everybody, if you have any questions about AdWords, since we're looking at it right now, to go ahead and chat them in. And in the meantime, I do want to just ask you, Peter, if you could talk a little bit about, when we write the ads, we're talking about such a very small amount of space. Do you have any kind of like tips or things that you share with clients to try to help them understand, like when you have that little, character limit for the headlines and the description, like what do you really need to focus on? I know you talked about the keywords and the call to action, but kind of how do you try to create that stuff,
That's a really good question. I'm a big planner, so I usually don't go right into the AdWords ad interface and start typing ad copy. I actually write it in Word. And I use my shortcuts to kind of always see how the character limit is with 30, 30, and 80. That's the headline 1, headline 2, and the body. And what I'll usually do is, this is something I actually want to talk about. Sometimes, I use a thesaurus, a digital one, and I'll look for synonyms. So if I can find a word and a shortened version of it, that works. It's good to capitalize the first letter of each word in your ad. And I'll always, sometimes I'll use ampersand instead of and, but I try to figure out ways to not use as many commas and things like that too, and keep it really lean,
Yeah.
if that helps.
Awesome. So again, I just want to let everybody know if they've got any questions about AdWords, you can chat them in. And of course, if you think of something that you'd like essentially to talk about later, in the call, I can always bring Peter back in here to answer any questions. But feel free to let us know right now. Give everybody just a minute or so just to chat or type in some things, because I know sometimes it takes a minute. But essentially, I think one of the great things that Peter and I have been talking about, and he's been sharing with us, and if you were on one of our recent calls as a student, there's a lot of changes happening with AdWords. And so sorry about that, everybody. It's really exciting to see them kind of evolving this part of the quality piece of the ad writing. So I think that's a part of the system that needed maybe to go to a next level.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, the reason I'm showing you this is that, again, to kind of hit that point again about the trifecta, they're trying to think of it like this. If you were like, I'm making this story up, like, hey, LeBron James got traded to the Charlotte Hornets, and you're like, whoa, I want to see an article about that, And if you were searching for it and you got Rolling Stone, Red Hot Chili Peppers, or the Financial Times or Wall Street, you'd be like, these things have nothing to do with what I'm looking for. It's not a good user experience. It's not relevant to what I'm searching for. So they're really trying to be, I think, honest and transparent in terms of how they're going to score you well or score you poorly. So nesting and grouping everything in AdWords that is relevant together, like putting your keywords in tight groups to your ads, to your ad groups, to your campaigns, is a good thing.
Yeah.
It gives you better control and better oversight on what you're running. And now again, here they'll show you what you need to work on, the trifecta, the three things: your ad copy, your keyword bank, and your landing pages. So really be conscious of this.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So, and I see we had somebody asking us what were the trifecta. So you just reminded everybody.
Oh, I just
you just totally jumped right in on that question. The other question we had here was, is there a way to track conversions beyond just clicking?
Well, okay. I mean, inside AdWords, you do have your tools here, and if you go to your conversions section over here, you can create conversion that you want to track. You can also do it in analytics too, but personally, I like to keep it in AdWords first if it's something basic. I'd have a question for you, what kind of conversion I guess you want to track, because there's a lot of things you can track if they want to see this. I don't mind going over this.
Yeah, so that question, Cassie, do you have some idea of what you want to track that you could tell us in the chat?
Because, for example, you have to start thinking, most of the time, if it's on your website, you'd click here and you would see the different types of conversions you can track, and you would start there. Apps, phone calls, or different. Importing is a custom thing. You're probably going to be doing something on your website. Like if it's a newsletter, you would put it here. And the value, if it has a monetary value, you really should be entering it. But if it's just a newsletter, maybe you want to just don't assign a value. Just want to track everyone. This one's a little okay. This one's interesting. When you want to count your conversions for something like a newsletter, you'd probably want to just click everyone, because you don't want to confuse the tag. This is a little technical, that every time someone clicked on it, it counts as a sign up, like one person per sign up, right? You don't want one person signing up 5 times to count that as 5 signups. You know what I mean? So I usually recommend that. If it's a shopping cart and we're talking about monetary value, it's a little different. That's why they're giving the example of the 3 purchases counted 3 conversions. No right or wrong answer, by the way. I'm just giving you the schematics. 30 days is very common for the look back window category. So they already break it down. I mean, really, it'd be a sign up is a newsletter. That's what you would select. If it was, we're talking about cash, we're talking about dollars and cents, that's a purchase or sale. Leads are a little different. That's more like a contact form, and where you're getting more information. It's usually, it means that it's worth some more money. Like maybe you're a lawyer and you want a lead, and this thing is worth thousands of dollars.
So Cassie's actually saying here that they are wondering about if someone submits an embedded form.
Right.
So that would work, I would say, somewhat similarly to a newsletter sign up.
Yeah.
In the sense that you're getting them to complete a form and click submit.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So basically, that would still be the website section of this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You would still. Good question. Yeah. You would still have that set up on your website, but you would definitely select lead, And then when you're done here, you would save it, and you would have what's called a tag. And you need to go to your web developer and drop that tag and the page where your web submission form is, so that each time it's clicked and someone clicked on an ad, then clicked on the form, it'll be tracked, and you can calculate things like ROI and things like that.
Yeah, awesome. And then we have another question here that is from Amanda. And basically, Amanda works with a nonprofit, and they use Google Grants for AdWords. So she can't really bid for popular keywords because of the limit Google places on her bid amount.
Right.
And she has a hard time getting her ads to display on the first page because of this. She's wondering, do you have any experience or insight on how to make the best out of the Google Grants under these circumstances?
Sure. I have tons of suggestions. Well, first off, for people who don't know, Google Grants caps you at a $2 CPC. That's cost per click. So what happens is that's the most amount you're allowed to bid on each keyword. And she's right. Sometimes it can be difficult depending on the field of competing, against others who are bidding way over that price. So going back to what I showed you, the tips and tricks with keeping everything above average and really high relevancy will help you get higher quality scores, which means you'll increase your ad rank, which means you'll be closer to the top of the page in the search, and you'll pay less per click. But what also I'd like to suggest is to go into your analytics, or just really look at it start from a bird's eye view. Like look at how your campaigns are performing throughout the day. I set this for 24 hours. Maybe you can look and think like, I noticed during 9 to 5 hours during the day, I get the most traffic. Maybe that's the best time to advertise. Or look at it as weekends are better to advertise. You want to maybe be around the times when other people aren't. You have to think of creative ways to get your message out there. If your budget's ending early, you can also look into like when you go to your keywords. This is a really good trick too. It's loading. Okay, you go to your columns, modify columns. Under your attributes, estimated first page, top page, and first page position bid. Let's enable all three. Let's go down and save it and apply. This will give you an idea. I'm going to use this one again to kind of make sense of all this. I scroll to the right here. So now the auction, it's pretty accurate, but it's not, these are like sort of estimations, don't think of it's always going to be this. It's an auction, so it always changes. So just to be on the first page of Google for this Clinton Gupta keyword, 45 cents. To be on the top page, that means the top 3 slots, it's $2.06. For the number 1 position, $2.68. If you study this carefully too, you can kind of start gauging where you would even rank on the page. Ideally being in the top 3, so really these 2 columns is always best in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great. So hopefully that helps, Amanda, in talking a little bit about that. Of course, down the road in future live calls, we're hoping we'll have Peter back, and we'll have Justin here as well. And we can even talk about things like Google Grants in more detail, because I know there's a number of nonprofits using that system.